It is a mass start for stage 2, pursuit start, of course, for stage 3, which will start with the bike and end with the run. But the mass start with the guys who are at the front from stage 1 starting in the front row. Let's have a quick refresher of the triple mix. Stage 1 has happened. Now we mix up the order, hence the name, triple mix, of course. Run, bike, swim, and then a pursuit start for stage 3 where the gaps will be paid with a bike, a swim, and we finish with the run. We saw Cassandra Beaugrand do so well with her run and hold off the likes of Ashley Gentle and our 2017 Jersey winner Katie Zafiris to take the full 25 championship points, and it is all in the hands right now of Henry Schumann, who has a 7-second advantage. But right now another mass start with the run. There is Schumann in the blue, the fastest swim split. Brownlee in the green with the fastest bike split, and Blumenfeld in the red with the fastest run split from 12 months ago here in Jersey, and we're about to get things underway again.
I was going to say, if no one else takes it on, Christian Blumenfeld will, for sure.
He doesn't know how not to.
Yeah, so, and
here he goes.
And Birtwistle really has to. He was a fair way back in that first stage.
He was actually 50 seconds back as it stands, so he really needs to start putting some time into the rest of the field if he's going to have a chance to finish well and take some championship points. There's one of the Schofields up there at the front of the pack, and I think that's Igor Polyansky, number 11.
Yeah, Igor Polyansky isn't renowned for his pacing race tactics either, so I wouldn't expect to see him at the front probably by the end. There's no one making a big move here. Alex E there on the outside, you know, looking comfortable and running, but there's no one who's absolutely really gone for it. And that's interesting, but I guess it's 2K at the end of the day, and I think maybe it will be quite cagey, and then we might see a sprint finish to get into transition, see if they can get that short chute, which would be very exciting.
Yi just puts himself at the front, as we said. British national title holder for the 10,000 metres, extremely fast over 5,000. He does a 27.51, which I think is superior to your 10K by about 45 seconds, am I correct?
It is superior to my 10K, definitely, yeah. Ouch. Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for rubbing it in.
I couldn't drive 10K in that amount of time.
Yeah, so the other thing about this race is you wouldn't probably want to be too far back for 2 reasons. There's people around you and you can easily catch a foot and fall over, which is not what you want. And also the slowing down and the effects of going around these corners. The further you are at the back, the more you have to slow down and the more you have to speed up. So, yeah, I think you probably want to be in the top 4 or 5, really, if not, of course, leading. And, yeah, Alex Yee is pushing this here. He's running pretty much as fast as he can. And of course, Christian Blumenfeld is doing everything he can to stay with him.
Yeah, I don't think he got the memo. This guy's a very, very fast runner. He's like, oh, OK, let's go for it.
Well, they're very different running styles. He looks quite comfortable in his stride, and he spends, of course, so much time on the track running. Jake Birtwistle in 3rd position. Johnny Brownlee in the green in 4th position. João Pereira down the outside there, just putting the big strides in as well. Hayden Wild is in amongst the leaders too, and he's had a fantastic run of it so far.
There's a couple of guys here we would expect to see but can't see at the front, in Mario Mola and Richard Murray, but they're both pretty tactical races, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's Richard Murray, they're just there on the outside, you know, just biding the time, sitting in the middle of the pack if they can, and trying to make it as easy for themselves as they can. But the field's stretching out quite a bit on this run, actually, and I think there's a lot of guys. I think Christian Blumenfeld's one of them. I think maybe Hayden Wiles, him on the outside. They're probably running really hard, and it'll be interesting to see what they've got when they jump on the bike.
Well, they make the left-hand turn here, they'll have the tail at the wind at their back, so it's when they turn at the far end, they've got a good 250 metres with the wind straight in their face.
And of course, if the wind's in your face, you want to be behind someone. It makes a big difference running. If you can tuck in a bit and shelter from those headwinds, and yeah, we just saw them come past Mario Molas at the back of that pack. I think just biding his time and probably running a really good, solid run race rather than going out too hard at the start.
In terms of weight and body shape, I'd say that Alex Yee could hide easily behind the shape of Christian Blumenfeld if he needed to, no doubt. But there are your leaders, Jake Birtwistle, Richard Murray, Henry Schumann in 6th position, Vincent Louis in 8th position. Mario Mole has moved up into 11th, just a couple of seconds back. There's a little bit of a gap there to Polyansky. I can see Ben Canute, Luke Schofield there as well, Andreas Schilling, who is starting to get spat out the back a little bit, but Richard Murray looking comfortable there in third position.
Out of that first group of 12, though, I really think there's a couple of guys that are probably having to go a bit hard to keep themselves into this. So I think it's going to be interesting, this first bit of the bike. If any of the guys just run a bit more sensible and can really take it on, I think you know, you can make up ground pretty quickly.
You're right about Igor Polyansky. He has dropped out a little bit, and that is Jonas Schomburg at the tail of the field, number 9, the 24-year-old from Germany.
Yes, again, you know, this race is splitting wide apart with the guys at the front that you kind of expect. I'm really looking forward to see what happens. They're probably within the last 800 now, maybe. Another 400 metres time. Are we going to see a full-on sprint being wound up, you know, coming off the bend in the last 200 metres of a track race? It's going to be fascinating to see.
Well, Christian's putting himself in the position to do that, and we know he's got the mindset to take it. He's just such a competitive guy. Richard Murray slid up quite comfortably, and I'm surprised that Mario Mola, he stayed back. He seemed to get caught behind Henry and around that roundabout. Got some clear
yeah, Christian's a fantastic athlete and got a fantastic engine. I don't think he's got a fantastic sprint, though. I might be wrong, but I think sprinting against the likes of these guys around him, obviously Alex Yee, Richard Murray and Mario Mola, I would definitely back one of those.
Here's Murray making his move right now. The question is whether Yee can respond. Murray knows that he's got the short shoot advantage, and it can be such an advantage, and he has really pushed it.
He needs to spend more time looking forward and not behind him.
It looked like he said, come on, let's go, but he's really opened up.
Yeah, he has. That's an impressive turn of pace, to be fair. I think I'd like to see him commit to it now and just run as fast as he can to make sure he makes it. Christian Blumenfeld still hanging in there. And yeah, I think this injection of pace really has split it up, and you can see that the group behind is lined right out. And again, we're in this situation. Do you risk a lot of energy for a potential 1 second gain now to get round someone else? Richard Murray looks like he's got the chute, although Christian Blumenfeld is coming. He's coming for it, but I don't think he's going to get it. I think the other thing going into transition here, you know, you've got a bit of advantage if you're near the front, less people to crash into, people are pulling the bikes out. That does always slow you up a little bit. So I think in the perfect world, you'd probably want to be in the first 2 or 3 here.
All right, Richard Murray gets the short shoot despite the intentions of Christian Blumenfeld, and that will help on the bike. A decent transition as well from Murray, who comes back out ahead of Alex Yee, and Blumenfeld lost some time there and lost a bunch of places as well. So we'll see how that shakes out, of course. Some of these guys are carrying their goggles around their necks. Some of them have got them stuffed down the front of their shirt for the swim. Some of them might not have them on at all, such as the different tactics. But right now, Richard Murray, winner at Hamilton Island, 3rd overall in Jersey here last year, and he wasn't happy with that. He's got the game face on.
He did a good thing
comes
there.
Up the first inclination.
If you noticed on the short shoot, he didn't actually jump on his bike. He ran around pushing his bike.
He transitioned through it.
Yeah, really good transition. And he learned from looking at what the guys have done before, where Henry actually had to take such a wide bend. He lost a couple of seconds, looked straight round, and then gets round, then jumps on. And that's pretty good, smart racing. It's kind of what the Super League's format's all about, you know, being as tactically good as he can be.
Yeah, a lot quicker.
Yeah, the experience showing there as he takes the roundabout of peril quite well and quite quickly. Normally we see the first one around there just being a little bit tentative.
Very close to the back of the motorbike as well. He's using that to the full advantage, but it's part of the race. And it'll be interesting to see these guys, like I said, how much do they have to put on the bike now? Are they going to work together? Because if they let Richard Murray get away and his weakness is the swim, they're basically cancelling out his weakness, because he is going to get the short shoot again, and he's going to be able to swim at his own pace over that swim, and he'll be absolutely fine.
Murray was 14 seconds back after the opening stage, so he'll find himself in better position. Yee leads the train from Vincent Louis ahead of Jonathan Brownlee. Christian Blumenfeld there in about 6th position.
I would expect Christian Blumenfeld, Vincent Louis and Johnny to come to the front of this group to push it. They know that the only way of making that time back up to Richard Murray is if they're on the front and really pushing it here. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, and there's actually quite a big group of them there. It has actually all stayed together. There you go, Vincent Louis has come to the front, and he's going to do all he can to close that gap now.
He's seen just how far Richard Murray is in front of him, had a little look over, and it is 8 seconds. Alex Yee, Jonathan Brownlee, Hayden Wild again amongst the lead pack, so he's really stamping his name on Super League Triathlon. But right now, Richard Murray, who's been so good over the course of the last 2 events, is pushing the pace. Alex Yee tucking in behind Vincent Louis Jonathan Brownlee, Hayden Wild, Christian Blumenfeld, Mario Mola is finding himself in 7th from Henry Schumann. Jacob Birtwistle is part of that group too. He's far back though in terms of overall classification. Miz LeChuck, Leo Bergeret, João Pereira, Matthew Sharp. They are your top 13.
And again, Richard Murray's in the same position as his countryman Henry Schumann was in the last leg. He can afford to ride this safely at his own pace, taking his own lines around the corner and quickly. Absolutely bonkers there at the back. Tyler Michalczuk sat on his hoods going around a dead turn. I mean, I don't know why he'd ever do that. Pretty slow at the back of a group as well. You just don't have the control. I'd say Christian Blumenfeld is going to come to the front in this next half lap, I would imagine, to push it on. And I think this gap is actually probably going to come down by the time we get to the end of this bike load.
It was 9 seconds last time through transition. We'll get an update on what it is going to be after that. But Blumenfeld, you're right, is tucked in behind Vincent Louis and ahead of Alex Yee. A group of, I think, around 9, all trying to work together to track down Richard Murray, who needs all the time he can get on the swim with some strong swimmers in the pack behind him. The wind seems to have dropped a little bit, which helps him out there. Can get buffeted around through Thunder Alley if the wind stays up, but it looks like the wind's dropped just a little bit. It can be very changeable around here. And he is 7 seconds now, so a couple of seconds taken out around that last lap.
You can see these guys, there is quite a big group, but I don't think the guys at the back are getting that much of an advantage, to be honest. You know, it's so corny, it's so technical, you don't really have that much of a chance to sit in. You can see by the faces that they're having to work pretty hard. And it's not making much advantage. There is Christian Blumenfeld getting to the front there. I think I'd be surprised people aren't moving up the group and trying to get in front of you, to be honest, because you can see him losing a bit of ground run. Yeah, they have their losing ground run every corner, and that just makes it harder for you. If you have to sprint harder out that corner because the gap in front of you goes, that's a bit of energy every time. Ben Canute here working really, you know, he has to do this on the bike. He knows the run isn't necessarily strongest, and he's really working as hard as he can to try and pull himself back into the race.
He's technically very, very good, Richard Murray, on a bike. He's handling those corners well. He's taking big advantage out of each one of those corners. He accelerates well, and it seems that it's on the flat sections here that he's getting that time taken out of him, but technically by far superior than the group behind.
Yeah, people are good around corners when it doesn't look too bad most of the time, and he almost just looks like he's kind of floating around them. You know, there's no drama there, straight round it, on the pedals really early as he can out the saddle, and definitely making the most of that motorbike in front of him pretty close. But Christian Blumenfeld is on the front there and pushing it absolutely as hard as he can.
He's drifted all the way back to the back of the pack.
Yeah, I'd expect that to happen. That run was hard, and he's not necessarily the strongest cyclist, and definitely not technically the best. So this is hard, but he's there. You know, he's there and he's racing there, and good on him. I think this will bring him on a lot, and he's doing all he can, which is great to see. This gap actually isn't coming down. We see, you know, it's stayed pretty much the same for this whole thing. So I was wrong about him getting caught. He's going to get the advantage of the short chute again going into the swim, and he's going to hold on to that. He's going to hold on to that. Going into the final leg, which is good because the swim is his weak point. Yeah,
as the pack reorganised itself, it was 7 seconds. It's actually blown out to 10 seconds across about 10 people who've been trying to organise themselves with Blumenfeld at the front to try and catch Richard Murray, but he's managed to respond in kind. And yeah, as you say, just the way the course is set up, there's a lot of narrow sections. Sometimes being in a pack can be a disadvantage, and maybe not spreading around the work as much as it would classically do in a different kind of race.
Yeah, well, I think possibly maybe not a disadvantage. I just think that you can't actually get the advantage of working together, and you've basically got to have one guy on the front committing to ride as hard as he can. And I think in this kind of racing, that's all you can do. You've got to get on the front of the race and commit, because otherwise, you know, you sit up for one lap here, and suddenly that gap becomes 20 or 30 seconds. He gets the short chute, he's away, and that's it. You know, the whole race is over. So I think you've got to commit, and I don't think you can look around too much for other people to help you.
You know, we saw in the women's race, especially in this second swim, that the field got blown right apart. We saw Henry Schumann so strong in stage 1, sliding up slowly in this bike group. He was at 12 seconds back, I think, or 12 seconds in front of Richard Murray over that first swim, and he's at 13 seconds behind at the end of his lap 1. So
yeah, we haven't. Henry Schumann is sat pretty in that group at the moment, and we can expect that his swim is going to be pretty fast. This is an interesting part of this race now, because if you run hard into the swim and you're breathing a bit hard, you know, you can't choose when you breathe in the swim. You've got to turn your head to the side out the water to breathe. So if you get this wrong and you're tired going into the water, it's really easy to mess up, and you know, you really balloon and lose loads of time. So I'd expect to see some of the cleverer guys just ease off a bit.
We've had our first crash of the weekend, and it looks to me like it is Hayden Wild, who was working so hard to stay with an incredibly experienced and incredibly aggressive pack of chasers, and that is terrible to see for the young New Zealander. He's had such a good race so far.
That's a real shame. I was about to say that earlier. He's racing out of his skin today. He looked to be sliding up through that group, and he's overcooked that corner.
He moved up 2 or 3 places in that last lap, though, which probably means he was taking risks, which is why he's fallen off. So
he's well known for having excellent bike handling skills, obviously being involved in Xterra racing, and that is disappointing for Hayden Wild and for New Zealand. 21-year-old going down, but at the front and on the short chute right now is Richard Murray, who has a look up and executes a dive. He's all by himself there in the reasonably frosty waters of Jersey and the harbour here at St Helier. And Christian Blumenfeld, you can see how much wider they have to go out to the pontoon slot 15, so it probably adds 3 to 4 seconds in terms of the time it takes to go further along the pontoon and then a little further in the water as well. And there is the gap that Richard Murray has, but among that group is a great swimmer in Henry Schoeman, who's been sitting in the middle of that pack, and he's not the biggest guy. He's only about 56 kilos, and he's been sheltering in that pack along the bike, and let's see if he can track him down.
These guys behind him now are fighting hard to be on his feet. They know that his feet are a ticket to the front of this race, and potentially if they don't get on his feet, they'll be 10 seconds behind. And you can see that Schoeman on his own at the front, and there's probably three guys lining up behind him to try and get there, and they're slowing each other down and making it difficult. So that's definitely Schoeman in the blue there. I'm not sure.
Is Johnny third, is it?
No, Johnny is definitely in third. I'm not sure who I think that's Vincent in second.
It is.
Yeah, who you'd expect. You know, they're definitely the best swimmers here. And Vincent, as well, to be fair, haven't really mentioned his swim prowess, but a really top-notch swimmer. You know, definitely within the top 3 or 4 in the whole of World Series racing at the moment in a swim, and he's solid across all 3, of course.
And they're putting Blumenfeld under pressure here. He seems to be hanging on for dear life as they all get involved in the chase after Richard Murray.
Yeah, well, this isn't good. Blumenfeld, and traditionally not a great swimmer, and his swimming isn't great, and especially after having to run. So if you haven't got a great swim stroke, and you rely on smashing your arms around basically to swim, which there's nothing wrong with that, but if that's what you rely on and you jump in the water and you haven't got that engine ability because you're tired from running, you're not going to swim anywhere very fast. So I'd kind of expect some of these guys to struggle a bit with that.
Yeah, the experience of swimming off a run or off the bike is something that we don't see so much, of course, in triathlon, the way it is set up. And everyone that's hopped out of the water after doing that in the women's race has just spoken about how hard it is. And Christian Blumenfeld has dug deep into the tank. And up the front, Richard Murray is about to be caught. Henry Schoeman is closest to us, and Vincent Louis is coming on the outside, both of Richard Murray. So this is happening almost exactly like Sophie Caldwell got caught. No, sorry, Ashley Gentle got caught in the women's race at about the same place in the same leg of the race. Just there, she couldn't hold on, and exactly the same thing's happening here. Henry Schoeman is now going to slot in behind Vincent Louis as they race for the front of this one. But it looks like, as it stands, if Schoeman can stay with Louis, he's still going to take an advantage and lead out the pursuit start, having won stage 1 of the triple mix. Once we get to stage 3, which will be in 10 minutes time after this swim is finished.
So Louis is actually out swimming Schoeman here, which we wouldn't expect, which is fantastic to see. We're seeing Richard Murray going back through the group, and Johnny's going to be in 4th place just behind him. We did actually see an absolutely clear gap back to Christian Blumenfeld just around that last buoy, so I think he's probably going to lose 5 or 10 seconds here. Johnny's having to make the move around Richard Murray there. It's hard to swim past people because they end up kind of on your hips, slowing you down. So to actually swim round someone in a space of time, you've got to be swimming a lot faster than them. And if we look straight back there, that group of 10 guys, or however many there were, have absolutely blown apart on this swim. There's going to be a gap spread over 20 or 30 seconds when they come out, I think.
Yeah, don't forget, we add the gaps from stage 1 into the gaps from stage 2, and if 90 seconds is if you're more than 90 seconds out, you will not be starting in stage 3 of this race and have a chance to run to victory. There is Johnny Brownlee out of the water, has a slip as so many people have done, and Richard Murray comes out just behind him. So he's seen his lead evaporate. Christian Blumenfeld has managed to find his way through. Mario Mola.
Mola's had a good swim there for him. He's done really, really well. Michelin Shook there, and like I kind of expected here, Alex, he struggled in that swim a little bit at the back end of the race. Vincent Louis he's had a solid, really solid race here, and he knows what he's doing. Although Henry wants a bit of time on him.
Yeah, and he said that in the interview with Annie. If he could get a start in stage 3 with Henry, that'd be a perfect position for him.
Henry Schoeman, he won stage 1 of the triple mix, and he's going to win stage 2 as well if it stays as it is, although Vincent Louis is coming at him, but I don't think he's going to get him. He hasn't even bothered to take the swim cap off. It's a sprint finish. Will he get him? Yes, he will. Vincent Louis responds. It won't matter in the end, but a stage win for Vincent Louis, who's had a very, very eventful race thus far. Richard Murray has managed to overtake Jonathan Brownlee to take 3rd position in this race. Brownlee comes back a second back. We'll have to do the math. Blumenfeld gets himself over the line courtesy of the engine ahead of the world champ Mario Mola and Tyler Mislachuk, who has just been hiding at the back of this race.
Hayden Wild's got back up on his bike and come through.
He has indeed.
And he's caught Alex Yee in that swim.
That is a courageous effort from Hayden Wild. That was not a small accident, and he would have lost a ton of time. Leo Bergeret across the line ahead of Matthew Sharp, Ben Canute, who's been toiling away ahead of Igor Polyansky. But yeah, plenty of time across this field, and we'll have to have a look and get the calculator out and find out who will start and who won't. Sylvain Friedelance, the Swiss national champion this year, as we said, his partner Cassandra won the women's stage 1, 2 and 3. Fantastic effort. Gia Pereira, I don't know if that's a grimace or a grin.
Maybe it was Birtwistle that crashed. I saw the flag, and I haven't seen him cross the line. I just saw, or is this him here? No, it wasn't. It was definitely Wild, because I was thinking, wow, Jake's a long way back for this format, his favourite
And
format.
Jake won't start because he was 50 seconds back on stage 1. He's over a minute back on stage 2. So we won't see Jake Birtwistle in stage 3, which is a huge piece of news. Did not expect that. Jonas Schomburg as well. I think once we add his times together, might have a bit of trouble starting in stage 3 as well. Vincent Louis won, though, in a sprint finish, and he's had plenty of action today, and Annie Emerson is with him right now.
Vincent, that was a great stage. No mistakes that time round.
Yeah, that was a great one. Rich was really aggressive from the beginning. He had the shortcut for the beginning of the bike and go flat out during the wall bike. So we know with Henry we have to swim together to catch him, and that's good. Now we have to be really smart on the last stage and play our cards.
Vincent, you're swimming out of your skin at the moment, it has to be said.
Yeah. This wall year was really good for me on the water, and that's still on. So I'm really glad to have some good swim. I was a bit scared on the bike because Jake Birtwistle crashed just ahead of me, so I had a bit of adrenaline, and that was maybe still a bit there for the swim, so that was good.
Go and get refueled for the next round.
It seems we've just been corrected. Corrected by Vincent Louis. It was Jake Birtwistle on the crash. Looked like Hayden Wild. In fact, was Jake Birtwistle, so well done to him for getting up and finishing where he did. But I don't think he's going to play any more part in this one. Let's have a look back at the highlights. And Alex Yee led out until at the back end of the course. Richard Murray put the gas on, and he was smart through the short chute.
Yeah, very smart through the short chute, and that set up his race. Like I said, he came 3rd there, but I think that really was set up in the early part, because he would have struggled on the back end of that swim, and he knew that. He raced accordingly, and that's what this format of triathlon's all about.
He had a fair old lead heading into the water, Richard Murray, but it was Vincent Louis who took the inside line and managed to come out just ahead of Henry Schoeman. But right at the back end, Vincent Louis found a way to take the stage win, which won't mean anything other than he won't finish any further or start any further behind Henry Schoeman coming into stage 3. But
interestingly,
a fantastic stage.
When you actually